Hey, I wanted to break down the trades I took this week. All these trades I live traded in real time, entries and exits all called out in my Discord. So I wanted to go over trade recaps. And after this, I'll show you my screens. I'll show you my entries and exits and why I actually entered and exit these trades. If you're interested in this type of learning, again, you can join my Discord where I live trade every single day with my entries and exits all called. So Monday, we made 33% on NVIDIA puts. Tuesday was Tesla calls for 30%. Wednesday, we had CPI data that had released in the pre-market. So I decided not to trade because of volatility. I knew that it was going to be very volatile. Thursday, I had a break-even day where the initial trade, I ended up losing 10% on Tesla calls, stayed patient. An hour later, I ended up taking SPY puts and making back. So I was break-even for the day. And then on Friday, I made around 20% trading Tesla puts. I had a total of 4 winners, 1 loser, 80% win rate. The average winner, factored everything in, was around 23.25%. And again, that average loser was that one trade of minus 10%. Overall, decent week. All right. So again, if you want, just let me just show you guys as well. So here's again members. So you can guys see that others are all actually banking as well. So let's break down each one of those trades. So again, every morning I send out a Zoom link. That Zoom link, you'll exactly see this. So this is what members are seeing. They're seeing me trade in real time, entries and exits. But not only that, I'm explaining it of why I'm entering and why I'm exiting and when I'm scaling out. So you actually get to see this is exactly what you see in the morning, not just entries and exits. And you're hearing my voice. You're seeing me trade and show you guys, pointing to things and things of that nature. So on Monday, I ended up making 33% average on this trade. Now, keep in mind, I do scale out, and the last runners went to almost 70%. But again, everything factored in, it was around a little bit above 30%. So on Monday, obviously, we see NVIDIA crashing down right here, ends up retracting back up, and it ends up rejecting VWAP. So this already tells me that the sellers are starting to get stronger than the buyers. Again, initial prop down, retracts back up, rejects VWAP, comes back down, it ends up breaking pre-market low. So now I want to wait for some confirmation. So when I'm looking to buy puts, I'm waiting for the confirmation for it to break a support and then some type of top wick or the ability for sellers to hold it below for a period of time. Once I saw that this top wick came in, and again, everyone was watching me trade this in real time, this initial green candle turned to a top wick. And as soon as it broke this low of the day right here, that same second that I broke this low, the previous candle, I ended up getting in here. All right. So again, NVIDIA retracts, rejects VWAP, comes back down. I already think that the sellers are strong because they're able to reject our VWAP. All these top wicks forming, breaks pre-market low, top wick comes in. Once that top wick comes in, I immediately get in this area as soon as it breaks the low of the previous candle. I end up exiting the contracts, again, scaling out along the ways in the final contracts. I believe these went up to almost 70%. All right. And then I was done for the day. Now, if I wanted to, generally speaking, I could have held it until it broke one of these moving averages. But because I was already up 70% on those runners in less than 10 minutes of trading, I said, that's it. That's it for the day, right? So let me show you the next trade. So the next trade I took was on Tesla calls on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, Tesla ends up breaking high of the days right here. So you can see right here. Again, it retracts down, comes back, breaks high of the day, and this green line is pre-market high. It ends up breaking the pre-market high as well. When it broke that pre-market high, I was waiting for some type of confirmation. Generally, when I'm trying to long, so I'm buying calls, I want to wait for some type of bottom wick to form. So again, Tesla breaks high of the day, the pre-market high as well. And the next candle opens up. There's a slight bottom wick. And notice how that bottom wick is hitting off of that pre-market high, right? So that resistance now turns support. Once that bottom wick came in, I end up getting into this trade. Now, this trade for the first few minutes was a little bit choppy, right? And once I saw those 3 bottom wicks coming in, I knew that the buyers overall were strong, right? In this situation right here, again, my stop loss is very, very tight. So if my entry is based off of the pre-market high, my stop loss is basically that pre-market high. So remember, resistance turns support. So once that bottom wick came in, I end up getting into this trade right here. My stop loss was under here. So as soon as the stock broke below, out of exit this trade. My stop losses are generally very tight. I try my best not to lose more than 10% in a trade. All right. the word is try. So again, a bit of a slow burn of a trade, but finally went in our direction, again scaled out. And then I believe the last contracts went up to almost 60% on these. So I ended up exiting this trade at 9:57. Again, this is within 30 minutes of trading. And did I know that the stock was going to retract like this? I basically sold Tesla calls right at the top. Well, I didn't know that, but I knew that 10 o'clock was approaching, right? So if you guys notice, if you didn't know, at 10 o'clock, generally speaking, there is a directional buy swap that occurs, right? At 10 o'clock, usually there's a spike in volume. There's a kind of a change in sometimes in a direction. So for example, if the stock is going up at 10 o'clock, we can see that it ends up retracting back and rejecting that level. So again, it doesn't happen all the time, but just be wary about being in a position at 10 o'clock, because again, there could be a directional shift that occurs at 10 o'clock, a spike in volume, a directional change, and that could end up messing up your trade plan. So I wanted to make sure that I was out of the trade before 10 o'clock. I ended up exiting while the stock was going in my favor. All right. One problem I see that most traders do is, for example, let's just say you never sold your position and you're like, I'm going to hold this. Once they see these two red candles, they get very frantic and very scared, and they end up hitting market orders when the stock is retracting and going against them. This is why majority of people will get a very terrible fill. For me, preferably, I'm scaling out while the stock is going in my direction. If I were to sell a panic sell when I see these two red candles, I would get a very bad fill. But because I'm selling, again, Tesla calls, I want to sell into strength. So when I saw this nice green candle, I wanted to sell it into strength because I knew that I would get a great fill even with the market order. So these, I believe, went up to almost 60% on the runners. Overall, everything averaged in, it was above a 30% trade. All right, so Monday, Tuesday were winners. And Wednesday, like I mentioned to you guys, was CPI data being released. Generally, there's 2 days I don't trade. It's CPI data release and then FOMC day. These 2 days are very volatile. And to me, the analogy I give is that you want your soup to be hot or warm, but not boiling hot that you end up burning your tongue. And when you trade on days like that, when the volatility is increased, I believe that it's not, as a trader, it's best probably to step away from those days, right? As traders, we need volatility, but we don't want volatility to be so drastic that we end up being in trading those days, right? So for me, I like to sit out on extremely volatile days. Don't get me wrong, volatility is needed as a trader, but extreme volatilities, increased volatilities is something that I like to stay away from. So again, Monday, Tuesday are winners, Wednesday, no trades. Thursday, I ended up taking an L at the morning, but I made it back up the following trade. Let me just show you everything for transparency purposes. I never hide away from both wins or losses. So to me, overall, this was a great trade as well. So again, you can see right here already that small bottom wicks are forming on the opening of Tesla. It ends up breaking high of the day. So this right here is the high of the day, correct? Plot it. It breaks high of the day, retracts. That bottom wick is starting to form multiple times at the high of the day. So resistance turns support. It ends up breaking pre-market high. But notice the way it broke pre-market high, which is this green line, is that it had a bottom wick going into pre-market high. This showed me, to my understanding, that the buyers were strong because, again, bottom wicks multiple times off of the high of the day, resistance turns support. And going into pre-market high, it actually had a bottom wick, which is really good. So I ended up getting the next candle in, this candle. So once this candle right here is when I got in. Now, when my preference in the trade is to cut it very tight. So again, if a trade is not moving, right, even if it's in the general direction I'm going, but it's not really going up drastically, I'll just cut the trade. Because again, with options, we don't want to be holding those trades. We have time against us, right? Theta against us. And this trade, once it broke below this low right here, I end up selling it like right around here's where I sold everything. This trade, I end up losing 10%. And let me tell you why. I only lost 10%. All right, so again, entry was right here, and my exit was right around here. Now, keep one thing in mind. This was on a Thursday. So we all know that individual stocks all have options that expire every Friday, correct? And for me, if it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, generally I'll trade the same week expiration, so the Friday expiration. But once it becomes Thursday and Friday, I do not trade that same week expiration. I do not trade 0 days to expiration. For a minimum, I like to have at least 2 days till expiration. So this was what is that, September 14th. So the contracts that majority of people would get would be the day after one, right? It would be the Friday expiration for September 15th. But I did not get that one. I got the next week expiration. That's why I actually only lost 10% on this trade, right? So again, I minimum need 2 days till expiration. Thursdays and Fridays, I will not trade the same week expiration, and I'll opt to get the second one, the next week contracts. So again, cut entry here, exit was this right here. All right, once it broke this low, I end up exiting. But what I do is I stay patient, all right? I don't impulsively go on tilt and try over trading. I wait for the opportunity to come. So as you can see, this was around 950s. And I waited for the market to give me a setup. All right, so again, everything I do is live traded. So basically, you get to see me trade. All my charts are zoomed in like this. I'm charting, I'm trading in real time. I'm writing down notes. I'm writing everything down so you guys can see as well. Right. So I took that initial L of 10% on SPY on Tesla in the morning. I stayed patient, and here's what I traded. So again, SPY really is not doing much the first hour. It's kind of a choppy price action, ends up breaking. And I look at charts many hours a day, right? I've been doing this for many years now, and I always am looking at charts, and patterns generally repeat themselves, right? So generally I'm a breakout trader, but I remember there was a play that was similar to this. I can't find out if I could find it back. I'll show you. This happened a few days ago. It might have been like 2 weeks ago in a situation similar. Again, this is Thursday. And SPY had ended up rallying, right? And this 450 is a hard resistance. It ended up rejecting it going into midday. So again, there was a similar setup that I remembered in my mind where SPY had rallied the midday. So midday generally I'll say is after 10:30, because again, the first hour is generally the most volume and most volatility. So going into after 10:30, there's less volume. So when we see a momentum going up on SPY, there's a probability that once it goes after 11 o'clock and hits a hard resistance, it could probably reject that rather than continuing to break that resistance. So again, I remember that there was, again, everything is live traded. I was showing my members again in this rationale right here. I remember this happened a few days ago, like I said, where SPY rallied midday, hits 450s, and ended up rejecting. So again, when I saw this going up, I told my members that SPY would have a very hard time breaking that 450s, especially after 10:45 a.m. going into it. And I remember that a few days ago, again, charts do repeat themselves sometimes, where SPY ended up rejecting very hardly the 450s. So I said, if I see a top wick hitting 450s, I'm going to take puts on this one. So again, generally I trade breakouts, but this trade was a reversal trade. And again, what ended up happening is that SPY ended up having a top wick out of nowhere. Look at this high top wick on SPY off of that 450s. So in this situation right here, I saw that top wick, and I told my members again, previously a few days ago, SPY had done the same thing, rallying midday and ended up rejecting at 450s. It comes back to 450s. I'm waiting for some type of confirmation. Again, if I'm trying to trade puts, I want to see some type of top wick. In this situation right here, a top wick did form immediately, and I ended up getting in the next candle. Once it broke this low, it broke this, I ended up buying puts right here. All right. And notice that became that resistance. Sorry, that support ended up becoming resistance as well. So again, 450 reject, I bought puts right here as soon as it broke here. And I ended up covering majority of the position around here. Now, this was on the 14th, which is a Thursday. I got 2 days till expiration. So I had the Monday expirations for this contract that expire the next Monday. All right. So again, if I was trading 0 days to expiration, I would have made much more percentage wise, but I got 2 days till expiration. So majority, I was out right here, and I actually told my members to exit right around here. What happened is that it's not labeled to you, but there was a opening. So the opening print of the stock, right? So again, the first opening price you can see right here is 449.07. We got to chart it. Let me just show you 449.0. I had it that day I was trading. This is the opening price of the stock. This is a key support or resistance. So when SPY was approaching this, I saw it coming back down. So remember, I bought SPY puts here, covered majority here. And then when it went towards that opening print, I had it already charted. And I told my members, make sure that majority, you have to be trimmed out here because there's a strong likelihood that it will bounce. And I was completely right at the money, because what happened was it did actually bounce and continue to rally. So majority, again, scaled out by here. All right. So I like to have different types of supportive resistances so I know what's going on. So again, SPY puts got here, majority is here. And then again, everything set to get out majority by then. So Thursday was break even. And then the last trade was Friday, right? So again, I did not trade 0 days to expiration on this. I traded next week expiration. But despite that, I still made decent money on this percentage wise, right? So let's break it down. So again, everything is live traded each and every day in my Discord. So you get to see me chart, trade, entries, exits, everything given in real time, right? So SPY ends up breaking pre-market low in the yesterday's low, all right? Sorry, yesterday's pre-market, sorry. Tesla broke pre-market low and yesterday's high, all right? Breaks, retracts back up. This right here is the prior day close. So what ended up happening is it ends up breaking that prior day close. So similar to how I traded in a video on Monday, I wanted some type of top wick to confirm that the sellers are really strong. So what ended up happening, it breaks prior day close. And then I was watching very attentively with my Discord members. I said, let's wait for that top wick. Once that top wick finally came in, so this was initially a green candle that ended up turning into a top wick when those sellers came in. I end up entering this trade as soon as I broke the low of this candle. So once it broke, I end up buying puts here. So Tesla puts right here. And again, I had next week expiration. If I was trading 0 days to expiration, I would have made 100 to 200% on this trade. But again, I like to trade a little bit conservatively when it comes to the contracts. All right, so I ended up seeing the top wick, bought puts here, scaled out. And my final exit actually was right here, around before 10 o'clock. This was the last exit. Again, I was scaling it at 10 and 20%, but the last exit was at 30%. And it was around this one right here, the end of this candle. So the 9:59 candle closed. As soon as 10 o'clock started, before this even occurred, before it was the first second of 10 o'clock, I was out on my last runners. And why did I get out at the last runners? Did I know that I was going to sell at the bottom? No. But like I said, again, the rationale is that at 10 o'clock, sometimes there is a directional shift that occurs. There's a spike in volume, or, one market participant becomes more aggressive than the other. So I like to be out of my positions if I am in a trade by 10 o'clock, right? So again, entry was here. Last exit was at the end of 9:59, going into 10 o'clock. Like the minute candle for 10 o'clock, like 3 to 4 seconds in, I exited out everything before this even occurred. And I was right, guys. Did I know that it was going to bounce? No, but I knew there was a high probability of it bouncing around 10 o'clock, and it ended up actually rallying up. So again, hopefully you guys found this helpful. I'll try to do more trade recaps. And again, if you have any questions, you could reach out to me. Make sure you join the live trading Discord each and every day if you want to get my entries and exits in real time. And I'll hopefully see you soon.